Today, we're taking a deep dive into the opening verses of Surah Al-Bayyinah, the clear proof, and we're going to be looking at it through the incredibly detailed analysis of Ayatollah Javadi Amli. Our goal here is to get way past a simple reading. We're going to break down the theological arguments, the subtle shades of meaning in the language, and the philosophical ideas packed into these verses. We really want to understand the profound message about what proof actually is, why people choose disbelief, and what makes a religion truly rational and sincere. Okay, let's jump right in. This is our foundation, the text itself. These first 5 verses are everything we're going to be investigating. And you can see they're built almost like a perfect argument. First, they establish who we're talking about, the people of the scripture and the polytheists. Then, they introduce the main event, the arrival of the Bayyinah, the clear proof. But what's really crucial is the strange outcome of its arrival. Just notice the flow here. First, a statement about how stuck the disbelievers were. Second, a super precise definition of the proof that came. Third, the reaction to that proof, which, surprisingly, was division, not unity. And finally, a declaration of the simple, timeless command that this proof was always meant to reinforce. And right away, these verses throw a real puzzle at us, a core theological problem that Javadi Amali's analysis sets out to solve. This question is going to be our guide. Think about it. If something is a clear proof, its whole purpose should be to get rid of confusion and bring people together, right? So why does the Qur'an say its arrival was the very thing that sparked division and disagreement? This is especially weird when you see it focuses on people who already had scriptures, people who you'd think were prepared for this exact moment. This is the central enigma we're going to be carefully unpacking. So, to systematically figure out this enigma, we've got a 6-part game plan that actually follows the logical flow of the verses themselves. We're going to start by setting the scene, then we'll break down what it means that the disbelievers were in this particular state. After that, we'll define what the clear proof actually is before tackling that paradox of division head-on. And finally, we'll boil it all down to the core divine command and see how it connects to a faith that's driven by intellect. Okay, first things first. Before we can even analyze their state, we need to be crystal clear on who the surah is talking about. When the verse says, those who disbelieved, who exactly are these groups? Well, the text is very specific. The verse lays out 2 very distinct categories, and both of them fall under the general idea of disbelief. The first is Ahl Kitab, which is a specific Quranic term that literally means the people of the scripture. Now, in the context of when this was revealed, it's talking about the Jewish and Christian communities. They were recognized as people who had received divine messages through prophets and holy books before Islam. The second group is the mushrikeen, or the polytheists. This term mostly refers to the idol-worshipping Arab tribes of the time, who weren't following a revealed monotheistic faith. It's actually really significant that the verse lumps them together before it makes its next big point about the condition they both shared. And now we get to our first major point of deep analysis. The surah uses this one single, really powerful Arabic word to describe the state of these 2 groups before the proof arrived. Munfakin. And let me tell you, understanding this one word is the key to unlocking the whole verse. So, the whole thing hinges on this word, munfakin. The verse says, those who disbelieved were not munfakin until the clear proof came to them. Literally, they were not going to be separated or parted or detached. But the immediate question is, separated from what? And that ambiguity is exactly where the scholarly debate gets so fascinating. So according to Amali's analysis, there are 2 main ways to look at this. The first, and kind of broader interpretation, is that they would not part from their disbelief. In this view, both the people of the scripture and the polytheists were just completely dug into their own beliefs and practices. You could say they were sort of welded to their disbelief, and nothing was going to shake them loose until this massive event, the arrival of the clear proof, forced them to confront everything. The second interpretation is a bit more specific. It focuses mainly on the people of the scripture. It suggests that, based on prophecies in their own books, they had this kind of promise or covenant to believe in the final prophet. So they were inseparable from that promise until he actually showed up. His arrival was the moment that promise was called in, the moment of the ultimate test. Now, the exegesis comes down pretty firmly in favor of that first interpretation. And the reason is all about staying true to the text. Remember, the verse starts by naming 2 groups, the Ahl al-Kitab and the mushrikeen. Well, the idea of being inseparable from their disbelief is a state that applies logically to both of them. But that second idea about a promise found in old scriptures, that really only applies to the people of the scripture. So, to keep the meaning as broad as the verse itself, the first interpretation, that all of them were collectively stuck in their misguidance until the ultimate proof arrived, is considered the stronger and more accurate one. Okay, so we've established who the disbelievers were and just how entrenched they were. So now let's look at the thing that was supposed to change everything, the clear proof, or Al-Bayyinah. What exactly was it? Well, the Qur'an doesn't make us guess. The verses themselves give us the definition right away. The Bayyinah isn't some abstract idea or a philosophical argument or just a random miracle. No, it's presented as a real, living, two-part reality that actually happened in history. The proof is, literally, a messenger from Allah reciting purified scriptures. Now, this is what's so fascinating. The proof is presented as this combined reality. The Bayyinah isn't just one or the other, it's the message and the messenger, working together as one single piece of evidence. The first part is the messenger himself, the person of the Prophet Muhammad. His character, his honesty, his entire life story, how people saw him behave, all of that was the living part of the proof. The second part was what he delivered, the suhufan mutahhara, or purified scriptures. This phrase means that the verses of the Qur'an are inherently pure, free from any contamination of lies, human ego, or the kinds of corruption that, from the Islamic view, had crept into older revelations. But it doesn't stop there. The verse adds another layer describing the content inside these purified scriptures. It says they contain kutubun qayyima. The word qayyima means something that is straight, correct, firm, and established. It's telling us that the principles, the laws, the beliefs inside the Qur'an are not crooked or contradictory or just for a limited time. They provide a stable, just, and upright foundation for both a person's faith and a working society. So the full picture of the clear proof is a messenger of perfect character, reciting a text of perfect purity, containing principles of perfect, unshakable truth. And this detailed definition brings us right back to that central puzzle of the surah. If the proof is this complete, a perfect messenger with a perfect message filled with perfect truths, you would expect it to lead to clarity and unity. But the text says the exact opposite happened. And this is where the analysis really gets into the deep issues of human free will and the psychology of rejecting truth. The fourth verse states this paradox with stunning directness, and it hones in specifically on those who were given the scripture. It says that their division, their splintering into different camps, happened only after the supposedly undeniable proof showed up. The clarity didn't unify them. It triggered their separation. The arrival of the truth literally became the starting point for their internal conflict. So here's the absolute key takeaway from the exegesis. The division wasn't because the proof was flawed or confusing. It's the total opposite. The Bayyinah was so clear, so complete, that it served as what's known in Islamic theology as itmam al-hujjah, which basically means the completion of the argument. This is a huge concept. It means the proof was so thorough that it removed any excuse for disbelief based on ignorance or not understanding. So their division wasn't a result of intellectual confusion. It was the result of a conscious choice, a rejection that came not from a lack of evidence, but from problems of the heart, jealousy, tribalism, pride, or just the fear of losing power and status. The clear proof, therefore, acted like a divine filter. It didn't separate the ignorant from the educated. It separated those who would submit to the truth from those who would knowingly reject it. So what was the ultimate point of this clear proof? After going through the history and the human reaction, the surah shifts gears to reveal the timeless, core divine command that this whole thing was meant to bring back into focus. It wasn't about starting a new tribe or culture. It was about recentering humanity on its most essential purpose. This fifth verse right here is the spiritual and ethical heart of the surah. It boils down the essence of all divine religion into one single principle. The argument is that the Prophet Muhammad's message wasn't something brand new, but a restoration of the one original command given to everyone for all time. And this command has three essential parts: worship God, do it with absolute sincerity, and always be turning toward truth and away from falsehood. We really need to break these terms down. The first and most important condition is ikhlas, which means sincerity or purity of intention. The analysis really emphasizes that for any act of worship to have any value at all, it has to be done with an intention that is pure, only for God. This means getting rid of any kind of shirk or associating partners with God. That includes obvious polytheism, but also the more subtle stuff, like riyah, which is doing religious things just to look good, to get a reputation, or for any worldly gain. The intention has to be purely for the divine. This leads to the required state of mind, honafa. This is the plural of hanif, a really powerful word that means to actively turn away from a crooked path and get on the straight one. In the Qur'an, it describes humanity's natural, built-in tendency toward pure monotheism, the kind the prophet Abraham is famous for. To be hunafa means you consciously reject all the wrong paths, all idolatry and lies, and you point your entire being toward the one true God. It's a state of being dynamically and correctly aligned with reality. And finally, the analysis ties all these threads together. It connects these core commands, sincere worship, prayer, charity, to the very foundation of what makes a religion sound and upright. And in doing that, it makes a really profound connection between spiritual practice and our own human reason. The surah wraps up this section by saying that this whole package, sincere monotheistic worship, establishing regular prayer, and giving purifying charity, all of that is the Deen al-Qayyimah, the straight or right religion. And you have to notice the echo here. Earlier, the scriptures were described as having kutubun qayyimah, upright writings. Now, the religion itself is called the Deen al-Qayyimah, the upright religion. The source of guidance and the path of guidance share the exact same quality of being firm, straight, correct, and stable. Now, this is where the analysis from Ayatollah Javadi Amoli gets really profound. It draws this direct line between the right religion and the human intellect, or what's called the aql. The argument is that a sound, clear mind, when it really thinks about existence, about the universe, about itself, will inevitably come to the logical conclusion that the Creator deserves pure, sincere worship. This worship can't be shared, and it can't be done for selfish reasons. So from this viewpoint, the right religion isn't about blind faith. It's a religion whose core ideas are confirmed by reason itself, and the actions, like prayer and charity, are just the necessary, practical things you do once you have that deep intellectual and spiritual conviction. And that brings our deep dive to a close. The exegesis paints this powerful picture where reason and revelation aren't fighting each other, but actually support one another. Our intellect can lead us right to the doorstep of truth, showing us logically why sincere worship is necessary. But as the surah made painfully clear, many people who had this knowledge, who got the clear proof, still chose division. And this brings us back to the ultimate human challenge in this text. How do you cross that huge and often difficult gap between intellectually agreeing with the truth and actually living that truth with a pure, heartfelt sincerity? That journey from the head to the heart is the ultimate test of faith.